Right, in today's video, I'm going to be discussing who joins Thierry Henry and Alan Shearer into the Premier League Hall of Fame. Hello and welcome to Matt Talks Football. You're watching the best footballing content debated channel on YouTube, alright? Hit that subscribe button if you want to come and join the footballing family where we discuss football on a regular basis. And today we're going to be discussing the 2021 Hall of Fame Premier League version. Now, I weren't a big fan of this Hall of Fame, no. No, of course I wasn't, because it's an American thing. You see it in wrestling, you see it in bloody baseball, you see it in pretty much every other sport but football. But now we've adopted it. I wonder why. I think we all know why. But the Premier League has been around for 30 years and have decided to do a Premier League Hall of Fame. And I am actually excited to discuss this because I didn't think I'd ever like a Hall of Fame in football. But to kind of remember the best players to ever grace the Premier League is quite a nostalgia. You know, I like that sort of thing. As long as we keep it like a limit to how many people can be inducted a year. What you don't want to see is people like, I don't know, Eric Djemba make it into the fucking Hall of Fame. You want to keep it down to the 3 a year. 3 a year sounds quite good, doesn't it? Does it? I think it does. 3 people in a year, they do a little ceremony. It'll be nice and fun to remember some of the Premier League greats. Now let's talk about the Premier League Hall of Fame class of 2021. There are going to be 6 inductees. I just said try and limit it to 3, but we'll go with 6. We want to make it an exclusive club, not a club that everyone can join. But I think they're just bulking it out at the start, and hopefully they'll bring it back down to 2 or 3 members each year. And they've released 23-man shortlist with 1 exclusion, and that is Ryan Giggs. The reason Ryan Giggs hasn't been included because he's got an impending court case for hitting women. It makes sense why he's been missed out. But the 23-man shortlist, oh yes. It is an absolute peach, and there's going to be some real debates because everyone has their own opinion, and that's what's good about football. Well, I'm going to give you my opinion on who the next 6 will be joining Thierry Henry and Alan Shearer in the Premier League Hall of Fame. Ta-da! This is the 23-man shortlist, and I'm going to read out the names for you because in case you can't read. If you can't read, you probably haven't managed to find this video. Not many people do anyway. But anyway, the 23-man shortlist for your 6 nominees are Tony Adams, David Beckham, Dennis Bergkamp, Sol Campbell, Eric Cantona, Andy Cole, Ashley Cole, Didier Drogba, Les Ferdinand, Rio Ferdinand, Robbie Fowler, Steven Gerrard, Roy Keane, Frank Lampard, Matt Letizia, Michael Owen, Peter Schmeichel, Paul Scholes, John Terry, Robbie Van Persie, Nemanja Vidic, Patrick Vieira and Ian Wright. Wow, that is a long list of bloody names. I don't know how I managed to say it without messing up. I think I said Robbie instead of Robin Van Persie, but you know who he is. You can see him on the screen. Unless you're blind. Then it's Robin Van Persie, alright? So, first of all, when you're looking at these 23-man squad, you're thinking to yourself, unbelievable players. All of these are arguably... Fuck off. All of these players are deservedly probably allowed into the Hall of Fame in the future, but we've only got to choose 6. And this is arguably the 6 hardest players to choose from because there's just some Premier League greats that I want to include so many more. So the easiest thing to start it off with is ruling a couple of these players out. I think I'd rule out David Beckham because he spent half his career away from the Premier League. He had spells at PSG, Real Madrid, AC Milan. So let's rule out David Beckham in this induction, not from a future induction obviously. Another player, Michael Owen, again, he was prolific in the 2001 season where I think he won the Ballon d'Or. So he was great for Liverpool in that season, but again, he went to Real Madrid, he come back to Newcastle, didn't really do much at Newcastle, went to Manchester United, again didn't really set the world alight, so I think I'd rule him out of my top 6 in this induction. I'd probably rule out Robin Van Persie as well. I just think there's a lot more players who had a lot more to give and to be known for in the Premier League than someone like Robin Van Persie. He's definitely a future Hall of Famer, but not this one. Eric Cantona, I'd probably rule him out as well. Such a great player, but I just don't think he would be in my top 6. Les Ferdinand, when I think of the best players to ever grace the Premier League, especially strikers, Les Ferdinand probably wouldn't be in my top 5. Maybe Ian Wright as well. Again, I just feel like the 6 I want to choose have offered a little bit more. So let's get into my 6 nominations. Worst drum roll ever. We're starting it all off with Peter Schmeichel, the only goalkeeper to be included in the nominations so far. Peter Schmeichel. Peter Schmeichel, one of the greatest goalkeepers to ever grace the Premier League. When you think of Premier League great goalkeepers, if Peter Schmeichel doesn't make your number 1 or number 2, then you've got it wrong. I know there's been other great goalkeepers like Edwin van der Sar is another really good shout, but he's not in the nominations list. But Peter Schmeichel was a behemoth. He was a giant. He was one of the main contributors why Manchester United won that treble season. He's just a great goalkeeper. He spent pretty much his career in the Premier League. He played for Man City as well, their local rivals. What a shithousery. The next player, this is really tough. You've got Nemanja Vidic, in my opinion, or Rio Ferdinand. Two of the best centre-backs to ever grace the game. Two of the best centre-backs to ever play in the Premier League, and they played together. That is unfreaking real. However, I do have a decisive winner out of these two. Rio Ferdinand. He's just offered a little bit more in the Premier League. The Nemanja Vidic was absolutely sensational at a good period of time at Manchester United. But Rio Ferdinand, I'd say, has been a bit more consistent over the years, especially in the Premier League. So he makes my second choice. The next choice is another Manchester United player in Roy Keane, the captain of Manchester United when they were so freaking dominant. When they had Roy Keane, Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs and David Beckham, that midfield is just legendary. And to be captain of a team with them players in it, you just know he's a fucking decent player. My next player is a Chelsea player. How you cannot include a Chelsea player in this Hall of Fame induction, because Chelsea have been one of the best Premier League teams, and that is John Terry. Again, an absolute statue of a man. He is a man that you regard as one of the best centre-backs to ever grace the Premier League. He's definitely up there with Nemanja Vidic and Rio Ferdinand. And Chelsea were very dominant like Manchester United were in a period of Premier League history. So for me, John Terry makes it into the squad. Another player is Steven Gerrard, arguably the best player to never win the Premier League. Come so close though, until he slipped against Chelsea. Denver Bar. Bad memories they were, but Steven Gerrard was the epitome of Liverpool. Steven Gerrard is Liverpool's best player ever. Steven Gerrard just is everything that you wanted from a midfielder. He could tackle, he had the work rate, he had the goals in him. Him with Fernando Torres was sensational. He teamed up with obviously Luis Suarez as well. In that midfield, Mascherano and Alonso, he just run the midfield. He's solely responsible for winning the Champions League in Istanbul. He pretty much picked up the team at half-time. Steven Gerrard has to be one of the best midfielders to ever grace the Premier League. And then we've got another Premier League great midfielder, another Chelsea player, and the Premier League without Frank Lampard would be a worse place. He was phenomenal. He's won everything as a Chelsea player. He won the Champions League. He's won the Premier League. He's won the FA Cup. He scored a lot of goals. I think he's second or third in the all-time goal scoring Premier League record, considering he's a bloody midfielder. This guy was absolutely sensational. And the fact that Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard were at the same time is incredible. It's often debated who's the better player, and they could never play together because we saw that at England and we were fucking dreadful. But Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard, two of the best centre mids to ever grace the Premier League. The fact that they're English as well, it's a nice nostalgia. There's some massive shouts to miss out on here. I think Sol Campbell and Dennis Bergkamp, unbelievable players. Really, really unbelievable. They contributed to that unbeatable season, which will probably never be replicated. You got players like Didier Drogba. Oh, wow. What a striker. He was a big man striker. He always turned up for the big matches. He wasn't as prolific as some of the other players to ever grace the Premier League, but he was just the presence of Didier Drogba was scary enough. You obviously got Paul Scholes in there, Patrick Vieira, Matty Letizia. I think there's just so many Premier League greats, but that would be my top 6. So you'd have Schmeichel, Ferdinand, Roy Keane, John Terry, Steven Gerrard, Frank Lampard, Thierry Henry and Alan Shearer in the top 8 Premier League Hall of Famers at the moment. All the others have got some really good shouts to make the Premier League Hall of Fame in the future, but they're just my 6 nominations who I would vote for the next 6 to join it. So let me know in the comment section down below who you think would be your next 6 in the Premier League Hall of Fame. If they're different from mine, please let me know in the comment section down below. If you agree with my note, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you guys in another video.